Hey besties! So whether you're walking into your 5th hackathon, your first ever hackathon, or you're doing your 27th hackathon, shout out Audrey Chen, this video is going to show you how to properly prepare for the hackathon so that you can optimize 3 things. You want to optimize your likelihood of winning, because who doesn't like to win? You want to optimize how much you learn from the experience, because whether or not you win, you do want to walk away with lots of new knowledge, lots of skills that you can apply in other areas. And you want to optimize the significance and the impact of the project that you make so that you have a killer project to put on your resume after the hackathon, which would really make you stand out in the recruiting process when you start recruiting. So we're going to get straight into it. And I'm going to give you, first of all, an breakdown of an overview of what it is that you need to do if you want to optimize these things. So we're going to get into it. And first things first, we're going to have an overview of what it is that you need to do. If you want to win, if you want to learn, if you want to have the juiciest experience at the hackathon, there's 3 main things that you're going to want to do. First of all, you need a solid game plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This is a famous quote from somebody very important. I want the rule. Secondly, you need a really good team. Your entire experience, whether it's about how fun the hackathon is for you, whether it's about how likely you are to win, whether it's about how much stress you go through, that will all be influenced by the team that you have. You need to have the right tools and the right mindset. Your mindset is a tool, and having the right tools in general can really speed up your process and make your life a whole lot easier. And of course, you need to know how to pitch like a pro, because you can have the most amazing projects, but if you're not able to communicate its impact to the judges, it's less likely to succeed. So we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, I would love to thank the sponsors of today's video. This is one of my first ever YouTube videos that I'm making, and I'm only able to do that because of the sponsorship of Girl Develop It. Girl Develop It is an amazing nonprofit organization that creates a supportive space for women and non-binary adults to gain software development skills. They believe in a world where everyone is included and empowered in building the future of technology, which I love because I believe in that too. Through their amazing projects, classes, and events, Girl Develop It increases its members' coding skills, confidence, and community. And they've been supporting people just like me and you to thrive in the industry. I'm so grateful to them for sponsoring this video. And now let's get into how you're going to ace your hackathon. Okay, first things first, we're going to talk about what a hackathon actually is. What's the actual point of a hackathon? It's not just about building something cool in 24 hours or 48 hours, although that's definitely part of the fun. But really, hackathons are about solving real problems, collaborating with a team, and showcasing your creativity under pressure. And here's the tea. The best hackathon projects aren't the most complicated, they're the most innovative and most impactful projects. If you solve someone's problem, if you solve a problem that makes someone's life easier, boom, you're doing super well. Even if your solution is not the most complex solution that there is. But if you have a really complex solution to a problem that nobody really cares about, and a solution that doesn't really make anybody's life easier, it could be great. It could have a lot of technical prowess. You could have some super cool mathematical models in there. But if it doesn't make anybody's life easier, you're probably a lot less likely to succeed at the hackathon. So you have to remember that innovation beats complexity. Or how I like to think about it is novelty beats complexity, because innovation feels like a fancy word to me. But anything that's new and exciting and easy to use will beat something that's complex any day. We see this as well in the startup world, but that's for a different video. Now that you know the point of the hackathon and the kind of hackathon projects that win, you're gonna want to deepen your research a little bit. And by this, I mean you want to stalk the past winners. There's no shame here. This is just research. Depending on the hackathon you're doing, they probably have a list of the past winning projects available, especially if it's a hackathon that has been happening for a number of years. So check out the hackathon's website and take a peek at the people who have pitched pitched in the past that have won. You can also get these videos on YouTube by searching up the hackathon name and adding winners in your search. When you're watching these videos, when you're looking at these pitches, you're not just doing it for fun. You want to look out for certain patterns. You want to look out for what kind of problems were they trying to solve? What sub-theme did they choose? And how did their project align with that theme? You also want to look at how they made their project user-friendly. What design choices did they make that made it a lot easier to use? And most importantly, how did they stand out? What one feature did they add to the project that made you go, oh my God? That probably also made the judges go, oh my God. The point of this is not just to find what other winners have done so that you can win, which is the main point, but it also gives you a lot of cool ideas. Even if you're not necessarily looking to win, if you're a beginner and this is just your first hackathon and you're trying to kind of like put your hands into the space, just looking at past winning projects gives you ideas for your own project and gives you ideas of cool things you can implement as well, or how you might put a little spin on things. Next step is building your team. You want teammates that complement your skills. You don't want a team of just developers, for example. You want a team where someone is a developer, someone is a designer, someone is really good at pitching, somebody is really familiar with the domain, like has a lot of domain knowledge. That's a diverse team in terms of skill set, so that people are able to specialize in what they're good at, but the team is able to come together to make something that works well in every area. For example, I recently pitched at a pitch competition, which is not really a hackathon, it's like a finance hackathon, if that's the way you want to think about it. But our team had somebody who was really good at financial modeling, somebody who was really good at understanding the competitive landscape and kind of where the business stands in the world. Also really good at pitching, not to brag, but that was me. And we also had somebody who was really good at kind of introducing and giving a general overview to the business. So these are different skill sets, some a lot more technical, some a lot more communicative, but with that group of different skill sets, we're able to come together from a really strong team, pitch and win. So in a hackathon, you do not want to have everybody be the same, is my point. But where do you find these people with these diverse skill sets? Great question, and I have an answer. I have multiple answers actually. First place that everybody would go is Discord. If the hackathon has a Discord community, head over there. But if it doesn't, or if it does and you want to explore other avenues, you could also head over to other tech-related Discord communities, finance-related Discord communities, where people you're looking for would probably be. Now, you don't always have to find people who are already in the hackathon, though if you do, people who don't have teammates who are already signed up for the hackathon, that's great. But you can kind of convince some people to come in as well by finding somebody who's into UX design, for example, that you think is really cool and asking them to join your team. Mind you, I said someone you think is really cool, because apart from having a team with diverse skills, you also want to have a team that communicates well and a team that just kind of passes the vibe check. You don't want to have a team that stresses you out, that is bad at communication, or people whose vibes just don't match. So if you have a few friends at your college, for example, or a few friends in your local community who you already really click with and they just happen to have diverse skill sets, that is already a great team. However, if you're not fortunate enough to have that, your next best bet is Discord communities. Some tools that people don't use as well is social media. You can head on LinkedIn and say, I'm participating in X hackathon and I'm backend developer. Would love to have a front-end developer on the team, someone to do UX, somebody to do some research into the domain, and people might start commenting on the post, people might start private messaging you. So don't underestimate social media. You can of course do this on Instagram and Twitter as well. Now you have a team. How do you really prepare? Your preparation will definitely obviously look different based on how much time you have leading up to the hackathon. If you have months leading up to the hackathon, you're definitely going to be preparing a lot differently than if you have 3 days leading up to the hackathon. But I got you for both options. If you have months leading up to the hackathon, you're going to want to level up your skills. You might want to learn some new frameworks or tools, or just get a lot more familiar with the frameworks or tools you already use. You might even build build some mini projects to practice. Do some networking as well, like attending events, conferences, your college's club meetings, things like that, to kind of find other people that could be your teammates, but also experts in the field that you can ask questions to and just learn from. And if you have a lot of time, you also have time to prototype some ideas, kind of build the ideas that you're thinking of using for the hackathon. Now, you're not going to want to reuse these ideas for the hackathon, but when you prototype some ideas, you start to see what works really well and what doesn't work, or what you're able to do as an individual and what you would need another team member to do. Now, watching this video, I feel like you probably have a week or less leading up to the hackathon, but that's okay, because you also have a way to prepare that is going to work for you still. Instead of going out to learn new frameworks and tools, you don't have that time. So you're going to leverage what you already know, what you're already familiar with. And that looks like kind of brushing up on them. Just when using things you're already familiar with, you might need some help during the hackathon to speed up your process. This goes back to having the right tools. So you might run into some bugs with this framework that you're familiar with, but you might not have used in a few months in the past. So you might want to go to Stack Overflow, for example, to ask some questions there to help you debug. You might want to use tools like Cursor, which are AI code development spaces, or AI IDEs, basically. Cursor has ChatGPT and Claude integrated into the IDE. It's like VS Code with ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini integrated into it. So that speeds up your process by a lot, as you can imagine. So you would want to check if stuff like that is allowed, but you can use it to speed up your process, use ChatGPT to debug and things like that. Having the right tools is always important. Before the hackathon and days leading up to the hackathon, you're also going to want to make sure that your environment is set up. Have your IDE installed. So if you're going to use VS Code, if you're going to use Cursor, if you're going to use PyCharm, have all of that installed. Have like the frameworks you want to use installed, libraries you want to use installed, because you don't want to waste time during the hackathon doing stuff like installing VS Code and running into problems installing VS Code when you could have done that before the hackathon. So this is your reminder to go do that now if you haven't already. You would also want to do some quick brainstorming as to what ideas you think would be great for the hackathon. Now, you don't necessarily have time to prototype them, but just thinking of some cool ideas that you think would be great for some sub-themes of the hackathon is always a good idea. Once you get together with your team, y'all might end up deciding on a different idea, but the fact that you had thought of some ideas and brought to kind of contribute in the first place is always lovely. When you're brainstorming, remember to choose a problem or idea that you can actually build in the time limit that you have for the hackathon. Like, it would be great if the team could take a rocket to Jupiter, for example. But can y'all do that in 24 hours? If you can, I mean, you should. But if you know that the idea is something that you can't implement in the time limit, remember to choose simplicity over complexity. Because I said this earlier, innovation beats complexity. Next thing, design. You want to have some mock-ups of the idea. So in the timeline, at this point, you're probably at the hackathon. You've gone together with the team, you've done some brainstorming in the past. This is at the beginning of the hackathon. You guys have selected the one idea that you want to use. Now you're going to want to have a mock-up of how you're going to implement that. Because even if the app does the coolest things, if the design is funky and it's hard to use, it might not be well received. So some tools you can use to make some digital design mock-ups are Figma, Balsamiq, and Canva. These tools are super easy to use. Personally, I'm not a big UX girly, so I use Canva for mock-ups. Figma is a lot more useful, and it's also a lot more technical, for me at least, but it's not hard to learn. So if you're the design person for your team, you might want to get familiar with those tools. But sometimes you really can just get down to simple old paper and pen. I love my paper and pen. All that matters is that you have a clear visual of what it is that you're building. This makes you not have to think about it later on, makes life easier for your front-end developers because they also don't have to start thinking about design choices, and they're just going to implement the mock-up that you've made. It makes things a lot easier because you also can think of how data is transferring on the back-end side as well. So you just want a clear visual with your design mock-up. Digitally, on paper, doesn't matter. Clear visual. During the hackathon, Once you're starting to implement your idea, you're getting into the coding, the research, designing, getting together the pitch. Time is your best friend. Don't think of time as your enemy. Yes, you're under a lot of pressure, but become besties with time. And this looks like proper time management. Some things you can do to manage your time properly is, first of all, starting with your MVP, your minimum viable product. The minimum viable product is the simplest version or smallest version of your project that is functional. Build that first, because worst case scenario, you can kind of always present your MVP. Second thing you want to do is set up checkpoints. Every couple of hours, check in with the teams to see how everyone is doing and if everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing, if someone needs help and stuff like that. This ensures that you guys are actually making progress and that you don't have any surprises pop up in the last minute. Trust me, that's very important. Learning from experience here. And thirdly, don't overthink it, don't overdo it. After you have your MVP and you have a bit more time, you can implement one more feature, two more cool features, but don't try to squish a billion things into the limited amount of time that you have. I said it before and I'll say it again. Innovation beats complexity. Simplicity first. You just want to be impactful here. Don't stress yourself out too much. And finally, the pitch. Your projects might be amazing, but if you can't sell it to the judges, it's game over. So here's how you're going to nail your pitch. Start with problem. The problem that you talk about should be relatable, and you can make it more relatable by including some cutesy videos of people who are actually going through the problem. Every hackathon win that I've seen that I've loved shows a problem that I find relatable, and after that I know that a lot of other people find relatable. It's a problem that everybody has. Or if not everybody, a lot of people in a significant niche have. Secondly, you want to show your solution in action. You kind of want to like demo. Now, this doesn't always mean a live demo, though. If you can do a live demo, that would be great. But sometimes it's better to do a video recording of your demo so that you're less nervous and you can catch any bugs pre-pitch and not have bugs happening during your live demo. A lot of live demos that I see always kind of go hayward. So try to probably stick towards the video recording over the live demo. But if you're 100% confident, a live demo would be cool too. And lastly, you want to end with impact. How is your project useful? Whose life is this project making better? How many people's lives is it going to make better? Now, in the couple of hours leading up to your pitch or presentation, don't forget to kind of chunk those off when you're doing your time management. Chunk those 2 hours before the presentation off for getting together with the team to rehearse. Because if the team is able to rehearse well before the pitch, you'll be a lot more confident. And when you're a lot more confident, you're able to sell a lot more. Basically, you're persuading the judges a lot better with your confidence. And there you have it. If you follow these steps, you won't just survive at your next hackathon, you'll absolutely thrive. You'll come up with new skills, a really cool project, new friends, new connections, and maybe even a win to brag about. And maybe some prizes as well. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like it, hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments, what hackathon challenges have you faced in the past? And what hackathon wins have you had in the past? I'm excited to hear all of your stories. Bye!